and welcome back to Penelope's Pit Stop Story Time. Let's get things started with a song. Cobbler, cobbler, mend my shoe. Get it done by 2:30. Tora, Laura, Laura, Lou. 2:30 is much too late. Get it done by 8:30. Tula-roo, la-roo, la-roo. Give it 1 stitch, 2, 3, 4. Give it all it needs and more. Tula-roo, la-roo, la-roo. Stitch it up and stitch it down. When you're done, I'll walk the town. Tula-roo, la-roo, la-roo. Tula-roo, la-roo, la-roo. There are times when I want something to do, a project of some kind. Do you ever feel that way? You do? Well, I bet we're not alone in that. Surely there are plenty of others who feel the same way. You know, when I'm crafting something, I get completely caught up in it. And it's not just about what I have to show for it at the end, although of course that matters too. It's the joy of how I got there. I like to handle all the materials that are needed to create something. Have you ever smelled a crayon? Some have, some haven't. I'm always curious about how things smell. So let's try it now. What do you think? It does smell waxy. In fact, that's exactly what crayons are made of. Now, how would you describe the way that it feels? Just so, smooth. And there's something very satisfying about touching something smooth. Yeah. And here we have some yarn. People use it for knitting scarves, crocheting blankets, why, even for puppets' hair. I just thought of something. Hang tight. Raggedy Ann has hair made out of yarn. Look at that. Brown yarn. Now, this other yarn that is in my favorite color, green, is called chenille. Chenille. To me, the name sounds as soft as it actually feels. Now, I've got another yarn. This one here. This one comes from a sheep. It smells like it too. And see here, look at all the different colors it is. I like lots of colors and textures. Now, texture is a word for how things feel. Waxy smooth like crayons, fuzzy soft like yarn, or slightly sticky and squishy like this Play-Doh. There's a link of how to make this out of some very simple ingredients that we'll include in the description for this video and also post on Penelope's Pit Stop Storytime Facebook page. So you can make some yourselves if you like. Little tip for you. If it's dry, add a little more oil. If it's a little too sticky, add a tiny bit more flour. So you can make all kinds of things with Play-Doh. The pretty color that I got for this Play-Doh comes from steeping fruit tea in the water that the recipe calls for. I love this pretty mauve color, kind of pinkish. Here's what I made. A little caterpillar. So please, won't you send me some photos of your own creations, whether they're made out of Play-Doh or paint or, well, any kind of objects. You can post them in the comments section of Penelope's Pitstop Storytime on Facebook. Stop on by and say hello. I look forward to hearing from you, friends. Let's make some music together now, friends, since that's another way of being creative and making art. I have a new instrument to show you called a rain stick. This was given to me by my dear friend, Jessica. Do you know what it's made of? Those are some really outstanding guesses. I was surprised to learn, and maybe you will be too, that it's made out of a cactus. A cactus is hollow inside and it can be dried out like a gourd. They remove the spines and then they hammer them back in, spaced apart in a very specific pattern like you see here. The texture is sort of bumpy. So a small amount of pebbles are added and then the ends are sealed up. Listen to how it sounds. A lot like rain, isn't it? What you're hearing is the pebbles tumbling down through the cactus spines. Now, this rain stick is a bit large for making music, so I've got another one with me.
You freaked out the cat.
He'll be back. Now the rain stick that I have here is made out of plastic and beads. You can make your own rain stick later on by taking a look at the link that we're including in the video description and also on Penelope's Pitstop Storytime Facebook page. So I've got a little bit of a song for us to practice using our rain stick with. Here's the song. Rain on the green grass, rain on the trees, rain on the rooftop, but not on me. Rain on the green grass, rain on the trees, rain on the rooftop, but not on me. Thanks for making music with me. Today's story is a fairy tale that was collected by the Brothers Grimm, and it's about a craftsperson and some talented helpers. There was a shoemaker who fell on hard times and soon found there was only enough leather left to make a single pair of shoes. That evening, after cutting this last bit of leather into the pieces that would be stitched together the next day, the shoemaker went to bed. In the morning, the shoemaker sat down to work and discovered a pair of shoes already finished on the table. Under closer observation, the shoemaker saw that they were so neatly made, there was not one bad stitch in them. A buyer came into the shop not long after, and because the shoes were very finely fashioned, paid more than was customary. So that with the money, the shoemaker was able to buy more leather, enough this time to make 2 pairs of shoes. Just as before, the shoemaker cut out the pieces that night, went to bed with a light heart, and woke up in the morning ready to work. As it turned out, there was no need. The shoes were already made. The shoemaker did not want for customers that day and had money in short order to purchase enough leather to make 4 more pairs of shoes. Things went on in this way, following the same pattern, for a whole week, by the end of which the shoemaker was becoming quite wealthy. The shoemaker was also curious about who had been providing all that extra help, and got the idea to stay up that evening and see what happened. At midnight, 2 wee elves with no clothes on appeared and began to sew and hammer so skillfully with their quick little fingers that the shoemaker could not look away for astonishment. The elves continued on in this way until the work was done, and then they vanished. The next morning, the shoemaker thought, why, these elves really have been so very kind to me, and I must think of a way to show them how grateful I am. Oh, well, they must be very cold. I know what I'll do. I will sew them some little shirts and pants and coats, and, well, I'll knit them each a pair of warm socks, and, of course, fashion them 2 little wee pairs of shoes. By the time the sun was going down, all the clothing was ready, and the shoemaker laid it out on the table and went to bed, though not to sleep. At midnight, the wee little elves appeared as usual, and when they saw the feast of fashion laid out before them, they clapped their hands in delight. And as they dressed, they sang this song. Look how fine we are to see, no more cobblers shall we be. And they leaped and skipped all about the shop until at last they finally dashed out the door. From that time forth, they came no more, but the shoemaker prospered even so, and all was well ever after. The end. I thought since we were sitting for a while, we might want a chance to stand up and stretch. As we talked about earlier, a lot of creative pursuits involve attention to color. So I thought we could play with color a little now. I'm going to show you the American Sign Language signs for 4 different colors. The first one is red. You take your pointer finger, you touch it to your lip, and brush it away, almost as if you had a crumb there. The next sign is for the color blue. You're going to take your 4 fingers and put your thumb inside the palm, and then you're going to shake it back and forth for blue. The next color is yellow. We're actually going to make the shape of a Y with our hand and our arm to show that letter that the word begins with, and then we're going to shake it like we did with blue. Next is the sign for green, my personal favorite color. This one is fun to explain. You're going to take your thumb and your pointer, just as if you have a little fairy or a little leprechaun that you're holding on to, and you're going to shake out the fairy's fairy dust, or if it's a leprechaun, shake out his gold. All right, so now we're going to do our movement activity with the 4 different colors. This is going to involve looking around the room that you're in for things that are red, blue, yellow, or green. Let's begin with red. If there's any red around you, wave your arms. If there's any red around you, wave your arms. If there's any red around you, we're gonna see if it can find you. If there's any red around you, wave your arms. If there's any blue around you, hop up high. If there's any blue around you, hop up high. If there's any blue around you, we will see if it can find you. If there's any blue around you, hop a pie. If there's any yellow around you, march your feet. If there's any yellow around you, march your feet. If there's any yellow around you, we're gonna see if it can find you. If there's any yellow around you, march your feet. If there's any green around you, wiggle your body. If there's any green around you, wiggle your body. If there's any green around you, we will see if it can find you. If there's any green around you, wiggle your body. Well, folks, it's time for us to fill the last room in our dollhouse. I wonder if any of you can guess what this room is going to be. I hear a lot of you suggesting a bathroom. Well, as we've talked about before, the grandmother in this house is old-fashioned, and there isn't an indoor bathroom or indoor plumbing. She needs to go outside to the outhouse or the privy for that. So instead, we're going to be filling Grandma's attic. So Grandma is craftsy too. This is her old-fashioned sewing machine. It operates by her stepping on this pedal here at the bottom. We're going to push it to the back to make some room for some of her other sewing things. This is something Grandma uses when she's making a shirt or a skirt or a dress, even a coat. It's called a dress form, so that she has an idea of how it will fit on the body. Of course, she needs some sewing things. This is her sewing basket. You can see Grandma has patterns. She has her scissors. And also a measuring tape. So if anybody needs to be measured, she can do that. We'll put everything back in her basket and put the basket next to her sewing machine and her dress form, so everything is available for her when she needs it. Grandma also uses this room for storage. Here's another handmade rug. As we mentioned before, there isn't any indoor plumbing and no bathtub inside the house, except for this one made of metal that she can fill with hot water. If she wants to wash her clothes, she can use something called a washboard to scrub with soap and water and get her clothes clean. We'll put that off to the side. Here's a little rocking chair, not really big enough for anything other than maybe a doll or a stuffed animal. Speaking of which, when her grandchildren come over, she likes to have something for them to play with. This is Grandma's rocking horse. She used to ride on it when she was a little girl. I don't know who in Grandma's family played this instrument, but somebody did, and Grandma has hung on to it all this time. One of the grandchildren's favorite toys is Grandma's train. It has a number of cars, a caboose, a coal car, and of course, the engine that pulls the train. Oh, and one last thing in Grandma's attic. This is a place where Grandma's kitties really like to play. So we'll let them all play up in the attic together until Grandma has some sewing to do. We sure have had a great time peeking into all the rooms of Grandma's dollhouse, haven't we? Now, I don't want you to worry that we've filled them all up. I promise I have lots of other fun toys to share with you in future episodes. You know, dancers share their art through the way that they move their bodies. Here's an activity where you get to create your very own movements. Take your first name. What letter does it start with? In my case, the letter P. So I could do this. Do you know what I was doing? Painting a happy little tree. I could have chosen something else, like push, pull, push, pull. You can do that with all the letters of your name. String them all together and you have a dance. I'm going to do one more right now. My last name starts with the letter F. So I could, that's right, fly. Or I could fiddle. See what you can come up with for your name. That's all the time we have for today, but I'll put out another show soon. Let's sing our goodbye song. Love somebody, yes I do. Love somebody, yes I do. Love somebody, yes I do. Love somebody, but I don't know who. Love somebody, can't guess who. Love somebody, can't guess who. Love somebody, can't guess who. Love somebody, but I won't tell who. Love somebody, yes I do. Love somebody, yes I do. Love somebody, could be you. Love the artist and I love you too. Thanks for joining me at Penelope's Pitstop Storytime. See you next time, friends.